Today we're talking about Sundering Spear. In the context of this video, we'll just talk about Sunder. I think every one of you still knows what I'm referring to, and I'm much more used to saying that. Sunder in Season 3 used to be a not so popular item. It was mostly bought in duel and the occasional pickup was seen here and there, but it wasn't anything that would have gotten much of a spotlight. This changed in Season 4 ever so gradually. In the beginning, it was also mostly a duel pickup. But over the time, people started realizing just how good this item is. Specifically, the pros started picking up Sunder more and more. First, we saw it being picked up in solo lane to give early pressure to the solo laner, being able to completely bully his opponent out of lane with the help of Sunder by sacrificing the slot for teleport and still getting teleport later in most situations. But that was only the beginning of it. Afterwards, we saw Sunder being picked up on Raven when he got his buffs in the jungle a lot more, simply because of the fact that he was not as dependent on the usual jungler relics like Beats or Aegis. And as such, the reign of Sundering Spear began. People started realizing more and more just how much potential this item had. It was picked up more across all levels of play, and in the pro scene we actually saw 3 pickups per game. Down to the support even picking it up. The support picking it up over other support items because those got nerfed, especially Shell or Meditation would be named here. They were previously the first pickups for support because they helped the team so much. Now Sunder would just do more. The jungler would pick it up quite often and the solo laner would pick it up. And sometimes you would even see it on a mid. The interesting thing with Sunder is how this popularity was gained over time, even though the item wasn't actually changed. There was even a nerf to Sundering Spear's upgrade later down the road, where the increased damage was reduced from 25% instead of 30%, and the cooldown was increased from 90 seconds to 100 seconds. Not a massive nerf, but still something impactful, and still Sunder would be just as popular as before. Now, what makes Sunder so strong? The main point is that it has 2 different effects that actually have very different impact on different parts of the game. In order to show that, let's first look at an early game Sunder in comparison to just normal basic attacks or Frenzy, which gives you a similar damage amplification. If we look at the normal basic attacks here and the normal abilities from Thanatos, if we were at level 2, we would use a basic attack for 37 damage, then 129 on his Scythe combined damage, and another 84 on his 3. So that's a total of 250 damage. Decent amount of damage. Obviously a high aggression early game character, so that would chunk quite a lot. Now, what if we did the same combination with Sunder? Obviously everything would be amplified if we assume that we use Sunder first here. That would be 42 damage on the basic, 149 damage on his 1, and 97 damage on the 3. That doesn't sound too bad. Obviously it's a bit of an amplification due to the passive of Sunder, but the extra damage in itself in this part is not that much higher. It is higher and is obviously something that makes the trade a lot more difficult, but it's not the main issue here, so to speak. The damage amplification alone only brings you up to 288 damage. That is an extra 38 damage over the same combo without Sunder. That's not terrible. That is obviously a damage increase, but it's not something that would completely shred you into bits. What will shred you into bits is the fact that it also has extra damage on itself. Sunder comes with its own true damage, so it even ignores protections. As such, you add another 68 damage, and that brings you to 356 damage, which is 106 more than before. If we compare this to Frenzy, the damage values here are actually quite close to that of Sunder. You have 40 damage on the basic, 142 damage on the 1, and 92 damage on the 3. But the total damage here is only 274, so it's only 24 damage over the normal combo without any Sunder or Frenzy. The extra damage of Sunder is actually almost equal to an extra ability. It's more damage than basic attack, and it is ranged, so you can easily use it to clean up a kill that you otherwise would not have gotten at all if you used up all your ranged abilities. Yet that is just one part of the benefits. The other part of the benefit is a damage increase. Damage increase is not as impactful early on, but will be later in the game, especially because multiple Sunders work with each other. The function itself, while having its own mechanic, is not that different from protection reduction. Any damage you deal will obviously be increased even though the enemy has protections. And that is very, very impactful. As such, you can see what the issue here is. In early game, you have an item that gives you a lot of burst damage through an extra shot, a ranged shot, and in late game you have a damage amplification against a specific target that will allow you to easily burn a tank or any kind of tanky target or any kind of target with protections of any sort at all. Usually certain characters are designed in a way that they cannot get comboed by your whole abilities late game anymore and die immediately. Sunder can turn this around for a lot of characters. The upgrade makes it even stronger. It's one of the few relics that is actually considered worth upgrading before late game. Not only do you have the shorter cooldown, but also the higher damage increase against the target, which does make your whole team hit harder against that target. If you single out a target early in the fight, you sunder it and your team knows what to do, that target is gone from that fight. Obviously there are counter mechanics like for example Aegis, but Aegis only lasts 2 seconds whereas Sunder lasts 5, so it's not quite a fair trade in general. Tackling this issue will be a problematic one. Many people are happy that the Beats and Aegis meta is kinda over, at least for a bit, simply down to the fact that no one enjoyed always having these same defensive relics on almost every character. But at the same time, having it replaced with a Sunder meta is something that most people like even less. Especially in the pro scene, most pros are very opposed to what Sunder is currently doing to the games. While Beats and Aegis were always hated, there was a significant difference, and that is that those were defensive relics. An aggressive relic that is very strong has a completely different impact. Aggressive relics allow for a lot more early aggression plays, a lot more snowballing, a lot more just outplay potential on characters that should not really have it against others and things like that. Sunder also has this incredibly strong impact in early buff secures. With Sunder in the jungle, you often have a situation early on where one team will invade the other one and then kinda get away with it because the threat of Sunder is too big for the other team to fight back. And this is especially dangerous on characters that already have strong early game damage, like for example Cameldots, who I mentioned yesterday. We know that Sunder is most likely going to receive in tomorrow's patch based on the announcements that we've heard from various high-risk employees on Twitter. The question is what exactly is going to happen. It's unlikely that Sunder is going to be removed from the game because it was before a relic that was kind of fine, but it's very hard to put this relic in a place where it's worth picking up but not too strong, because it will always have either that downside of just being against one target and generally not bringing enough to the table for it to be picked up, or if it's enough to be picked up, giving you a huge trading advantage and easily be able to become a popular item again. Also remember that usually another item will take its place. Probably Frenzy in this case, even though it is not as strong as we've shown in certain numbers. It is stronger late game in certain scenarios, but it just doesn't have that early burst. So it doesn't have this perfect transition from early to late game that Sunder has. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sunder being nerfed across the board, maybe not in regards to the cooldown, but maybe the duration, the damage and the damage increase by a little bit at least, but we'll find out about that more precisely tomorrow. As usual, I'll be streaming the patch notes on my Twitch, so feel free to stop by. Until then, thank you guys for watching. If you aren't subscribed yet, feel free to click that sub button and maybe the bell, it really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out.